How's it going, everyone? I think it's time we have a serious talk about PTBs or public test builds and why they have truly outlived their usefulness in Dead by Daylight. So in this video, I'll break down why PTBs need to be retired once and for all. Now, PTBs have been a part of DBD since the very beginning. In fact, the very first PTB on June 14th, 2016 was essentially the beta for the entire game. That was when people got their first hands-on experience with DBD, but as the game evolved, the PTB evolved along with it. You can look back to the early days of the PTB when true talent would go head to head against the developers during like new chapter reveals. And back then, PTBs were a unique way for the devs and the community to collaborate, figuring out balance and design together and figure out which direction this crazy new experimental horror game should go in. Plus, it was a great way to build hype for new chapters. And for a smaller game, that worked really well. But fast forward to today, Dead by Daylight is no longer a small game, it's huge. The dev team is now the size of a small country, the game is infinitely more complex, and the PTB just doesn't work the way it used to. In fact, I'd strongly argue it's doing way more harm than good. So let's break this down. Every time a new PTB drops, it's almost guaranteed to be filled with bugs, understandable for sure. It's a test build, but regardless, this does have an effect on collecting good data, right? Now, beyond that, you've got a new killer, a new survivor, new perks, all the shiny stuff, but here's the problem. There's no authentic way to test any of it. If you want to try the new killer, you're looking at 15 to 20 plus minute queue times for one match. And that match, completely useless. There's no matchmaking in the PTB, so you're often playing against very casual players who don't give you any meaningful feedback about the killer. And as soon as they realize you're not a tuna fish with a controller, they're most likely going to disconnect. And why wouldn't they? There's no DC penalty and it's an instant queue for them as survivor, so they'll just get another match against a much less experienced killer in 2 minutes, right? So now as the killer, you've waited 20 plus minutes for a match that's over in 5 and taught you absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, those same casual players are now hopping online to complain that the new killer is overpowered because they're not used to dealing with higher skilled players without SBMM there to protect them. Now, what you could do while waiting in these long queue times is head over to instantgaming.com for a chance to not only win a free game of your choosing on any major platform using my affiliate link down below, but also find insane deals for any games you've been waiting to grab. This is because I've now partnered with Instant Gaming to bring you guys some seriously great bargains. They have nearly 1 million reviews on Trustpilot. Their keys come directly from the authorized distributors and retailers, which means everything is completely legitimate and moves very quickly, so you get your codes as soon as possible. Again, if you want to save on all your gaming purchases and support the channel at the same time, check out my affiliate link below, and the winner of the free game will have their nickname posted up on the website, so I can't wait to see what names you guys come up with. Now, getting back to the topic, let's not forget about content creators here. The second a PTB drops, your feed is flooded with videos titled something like, "The new killer is so OP they can win and bang your mom at the same time." And of course, they look overpowered because there's no matchmaking. You could probably win matches in the PTB using just your toes, right? Now, I get it, these videos pull views, they make money, and I don't blame anyone for taking advantage of the hype, but the problem is that these videos feed into a completely skewed narrative. Suddenly, everyone's convinced the killer is broken based on a few hours of footage from an unbalanced matchmaking-free environment. And I keep seeing these comments pop up on my old Freddy rework is doomed to fail video since the new PTB released. This video aged like milk. Wow, this aged badly. Because people are drinking the Kool-Aid of the narrative that the rework was an amazing success when nobody even actually knows how this rework is going to feel when it hits the live game. They are basing their entire opinions on content creators who uploaded videos 5 minutes after the PTB released. Like, let's be for real here. There is no way the information in those videos is that credible. It's like the equivalent of reviewing a movie based only on seeing the trailer. Like, you could say the movie looks promising or it looks like it's going to be hot garbage, but they're straight up saying it's the best movie ever made without actually seeing it, right? Which is unarguably cringe. It doesn't make any sense. So if you're parroting those opinions, it's honestly pretty embarrassing. Here's where it gets even worse though. The devs take this flawed PTB feedback and try to implement it into the live game. And when the patch drops, it's almost immediately irrelevant because the feedback was based on flawed fictional data. So now the devs are scrambling to fix things again post-release. Plus, even if you take into account the small handful of bigger creators who can actually test the killers in custom matches on the PTB, they aren't really gathering truly useful data either. They are playing against their own communities who already know their builds, their playstyles, and their strategies. That's not an authentic testing environment. As for myself, I spent a few hours playing Freddy in the PTB. Within the confines of what the devs had to work with, I think it's probably the best rework they could have done. But let's not kid ourselves. Freddy's design is fundamentally garbage. He's a disgrace to the Nightmare on Elm Street IP, just like Alien was wasted potential. Uncreativity to the max. But within that limited framework, yeah, sadly, this is probably the best version of Freddy we'll ever get. That said, when Freddy hits the live servers, even without knee-jerk nerfs from the flawed PTB feedback, I think a lot of people, especially the Kool-Aid drinkers, are going to be disappointed. The killer still plays boring. The core identity hasn't changed, and he's not going to be this OP monster everyone's hyping him up to be. At best, he'll be mid, way more balanced, and almost just as uninteresting. So in the end, the modern PTB achieves virtually nothing and eats up developer resources both before and after a chapter's release. It's almost a complete loss with a very little gain. Even in rare cases like the Twins rework where the PTB revealed she was a tactical nuke that needed immediate nerfing, this is still not a strong argument for keeping PTBs. Why? Because even Behavior's own playtesters admitted they knew the Twins rework was a disaster, but they only got to play it right before it hit the PTB, leaving no time to implement their feedback. So even without a PTB, that version of the Twins would have never made it to live servers anyway. At this point, the only real purpose of the PTB is to generate hype and boost sales, but that comes at a direct cost to the game's health. Worse, it's manipulative and anti-consumer. Most of the powerful stuff shown off in the PTB either isn't as strong in the live version or it gets nerfed quickly, leaving buyers feeling cheated and less trusting of future DLCs, and justifiably so. The last argument I can think of for PTBs is that it lets players test out the new content for free before a chapter releases. But not only does that entirely exclude all console players, but Behavior is implementing a new feature now that will allow players to test these things for free in the main game, similar to how the old Splinter add-ons used to function anyway. And if that's not enough to convince you, Behavior literally just announced, as I'm recording this video, that PTBs are going to start matches now with bot survivors if there aren't enough players currently searching, which just cements the fact that PTBs are no longer generating interest or valuable data. So for all these reasons, I think it's time to seriously consider pushing the message to Behavior as a community that it's time to retire PTBs. Let the playtesters take on the responsibility, let chapters release as is, and make intelligent changes based on data from the actual live game. It's less work, gives the devs more time for quality assurance, and generates more accurate feedback. That said, I'm really curious about all of your thoughts on the matter. Do you still think the positives outweigh the negatives? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and have a good one.